Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hey friends, I am so excited to share this conversation with you today. Melinda McCoy, the founder of House 214 Design, is with me, and I honestly could have spoken to this woman all day long. We have never met in person. We have never spoken outside of exchanging DMs on Instagram. And at the same time, I felt like I was chatting with a dear friend that I've known my whole life. So I'm so excited for you to have a similar experience because she is just beautiful and gracious and inviting and welcoming and all lovely, beautiful things that we want our home to be. So it only makes sense that she is a home decorating coach, which is so fabulous. She has a very impressive bio as well because she is fabulous. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Melinda McCoy is the founder of House 214 Design and her online community, the Homebody Fellowship. She is a teacher of the home and noted speaker. Melinda empowers all people to believe that they and their homes are beautiful and worthy of joy. Melinda's mission is to shift the idea of the perfect home to a home that is real and authentic. She unleashes a home's potential and power through live teachings, tutorials, workshops, and speaking engagements. Melinda believes in the purpose and value of home. She teaches people that homes are not whole because they have reached aesthetic perfection, but that they are whole because they are a place to flourish, find goodness and strength in their lives. Melinda inspires others to seek joy in the simple. One music-filled room, one favorite baked family recipe, and one kitchen table filled with laughter and conversation at a time. A home is worth making beautiful and happy. Like I said, is she not fabulous? I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the latest episode with Melinda McCoy. Melinda, I am so excited about this conversation. I can't even tell you. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited, and thank you for inviting me, Wendy, into your home too. It's so fun to talk to you.
Thank you. It's lovely to have you. And I do just have to start out with this full disclosure. So I was introduced to you by my dear friend, Jennifer Chapin, who loves all things home, and she has an amazing eye. She's fabulous. And she said that I must follow you. So I did. And about a year later, I saw on Instagram, you followed me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I wrote you like, oh my gosh. And you wrote me back and you said, thank you so much for your kind message. You made my day. I'm fascinated by your work and I'm working through your teachings now. It's so nice to meet you. And I thought, oh my word, she thinks I'm somebody else.
Wendy, oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing this with me. Oh my God.
I've been fangirling and thinking like, ooh, I have to tell her that I'm not who she thinks I am because she's fascinated by my work. So she must think I'm somebody else.
Oh my gosh, Wendy. Oh, I think you're amazing. I love what you do. And once I started watching, like I couldn't stop on your feed. Oh my gosh. And just your energy and what you teach people and share. So I love it. Right. I feel the same.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. And the reason that I share that and that I'm so glad that I now know that you didn't have me confused with somebody. We're all just people and we're doing what we love and we want to know each other. Like we want to be friends. And if you are drawn to someone, it doesn't matter that they're a person on Instagram and they have whatever followers, whatever likes. It doesn't matter. We are all people. And I just think that especially through the pandemic, that friendship has been redefined a bit. And like the people that I am very close to in my heart and just in alignment with what's important to me are people that I've met on Instagram.
Oh, I agree. You find like-minded people, right? I mean, I think that's what it is. I mean, of course, in your life, you have people, but I don't, and friendships and all of that, but it can be different. I think you kind of find those people who are the same. This is the positive aspect of it, right? The community and the fellowship and all of that you can create. So, I feel the same. I've met some great people on Instagram. I'm saying met like this way.
Right. But I think that's a part of their redefinition of friendship because
yes, you're right.
Before I would say, I haven't actually met, I have this friend.
Yes.
I haven't really met her. And
right.
That would indicate that the woman that works at the grocery store is more eligible to be my friend because I've actually met her.
You're right.
In
it's
person,
so true.
Than this person who shares my brain and my heart. That doesn't make any sense. So
no, I agree. I love it.
Yes. And so that makes us official friends, even though we've not met in person.
Official. I love it.
Yes. And I am the president of the club that gives out these official declarations. So it has a lot of weight, let me tell you.
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to think about it.
Oh my goodness. So I, of course, love everything you do. And you're so amazing. And what I actually am just tickled by and inspired by is that you are a home decorating coach.
Yes, I like to help people feel good in their homes, and that's different for everybody. So I always say you need to keep your eyes on your own paper because what's right for one person is not right for another necessarily, and how they would feel good in their homes. So I like to there's a process to it. It's not just swipe up and buy something. There is a process to things, and it doesn't happen overnight necessarily. You want your personality. You want, at the end of the day, you want to walk in your door and feel good in your home. I mean, it really is a refuge. I really do feel like it's a member of the family. I really do. And it makes everybody in it, you can just feel good, feel good in it. So that is what I think.
I love that. And how did you get started doing this more than in your own home?
I would have people reach out to me, even in the school parking lot, what should I do and all of this. And I didn't want to just tell them, well, this is what I would do, again, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the same. Because if I said to you, which paint color do you like? You might say, a lot of times it might just be well, I wouldn't choose any of those because they're not right for you. There's no right or wrong, It doesn't mean I'm wrong or you're wrong. It's just not what's right for you, would be maybe different than what I would have. So it kind of started off slowly in that way, just people asking and inquiring, and I would help them out. And I'm maybe there's something, I'm onto something. It was kind of like that.
Oh, it's amazing. I love that. And I love that people just knew to ask you.
So I started on Instagram after we had our third child. And I think it was just a way to be creative, just it really And it was kind of when Instagram was new. It was different. Instagram was different then, more like 2014,
Okay.
2013, 2014. And it was like I had 3 younger kids at home, and it was just my outlet. And I just felt like it was a little bit, you would just kind of post a picture. There wasn't like an algorithm as much and stuff like that as it is today. And it was just pictures. That's all you would post. So then I started people started liking my things, and it started growing. And then people like locally, would see that sort of thing. And I did do like speaking engagements at different events and kind of just segments on the local news, things like that. So that's kind of how it started.
Oh, fun. And I asked that because I just think it's fun how your reputation grows.
Yes.
Globally with something like Instagram, but also locally, and how people talk about you and attribute amazing things to you that they may not have experienced yet with you. They just know that. And I say that because when people meet me for the first time locally, if I'm at our farmer's market with my bourbon poached peaches or something, they'll say, I'll introduce myself and they'll say, oh yeah, I know you. You throw amazing parties in your barn. I'm like, oh.
How do you know that?
Have you been to one? And they're like, oh no. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you know that they're amazing. And I'm glad that you know who I am.
Isn't that it's so true. It's like, oh, it catches you off guard a little bit.
It does. And
yeah,
it's amazing. So
I know. It's so true.
Yeah. I think, like you, we've experienced a lot of the joy and goodness that Instagram is.
Oh, yes, I agree. And I think, again, like it can get that bad rap a little bit, but I think if you just, I don't know, you kind of can tune stuff out too a little bit, and I think you kind of have to, if you get overwhelmed or whatever, and you just kind of focus on, there are so many positive aspects to it. So, it's kind of like anything though, right? I mean, that's kind of how it is.
Right. I'm grateful for it. And I'm
grateful
that it brought us together. And
Me
I'm
too.
grateful that it lets us in people's houses.
I know.
I don't know about you. I don't know if it's women in general. I don't know if it's the house I grew up in, but we lived in Southern California.
Okay.
And so a regular pastime of my family would be to go to model homes because there's always new houses being built in Southern California. And so we did this all the time. So I'm obsessed with looking inside people's houses. And
that's so interesting. I find that so interesting because my parents were the same way.
Really?
Yes. We would go, what they kind of more did, we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee for a while. And I just remember a lot of going to, and we would travel to different places, but like Colonial Williamsburg, or we would just do house tours, especially around the holidays, and old homes.
Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of my old home love comes from, is it would always be sort of that sort of thing, but we would always walk through these old homes and just tours and things like that. When I was young, I didn't appreciate it quite as much,
right.
But then I got older and I was like, that was really neat and really impressionable. They loved doing that too. It's so funny. Yeah. That's interesting.
It is. And so I love looking in your house.
I know.
Posting things. And I live even on the trips that I do in France, we go into people's houses. Like I do this amazing excursion with my friend Molly Wilkes. She is a pastry chef. She's from Texas, but she went to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris and met Francois and never came back. And now she teaches private pastry classes out of her Versailles apartment, which is like the dumbest sentence to fall out of anybody's mouth. It's just so good. And it's so good to be around her. It's fabulous to be inside her apartment. And
oh my gosh.
And we do another cooking class with this amazing woman, Veronique, in Paris. And she takes us to the market and we buy all this amazing produce. And then we go to her apartment in Paris, which is, oh my word, it's so beautiful. And we make lunch and then we drink champagne and have this beautiful meal. And the food is really great, but it's so amazing to go inside one of these buildings that we're just walking past.
I mean, it is amazing. What an experience. I mean, because it is different. My dad is from Holland, so he's the only one in the States. So all of his family still is in Holland. And I think it's such a different experience to go stay with people in their homes, or, have a meal versus just staying, which is, of course, it's still fun, and, hotels and stuff, but it really experience the culture in that way is amazing. That's an amazing experience.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yes.
So you've done some speaking engagements. You were on the news. You're so famous and fabulous. But you also have, so the trajectory of doing those things and being on Instagram way back when, how has that progressed into what you're doing now?
Well, I guess I just, I think, try different things. So one thing I remember that started happening with Instagram is different businesses would kind of reach out with their products. So Instagram wasn't always like that, where people, with influencers or whatever, that wasn't really a thing. But companies would, and it really wasn't my path. But what I started doing is I kind of created this sort of, I called it real goods. So what I did was small businesses who had a story and had a good, and I could tell their story and the story of, how they created what they did and all of that. So I did do that for a while on Instagram. And, it was before stories and all of that. So you really just shared a post. And that's what I would do. I'd kind of tell about the people and how they developed their product or whatever. So I liked doing that for a while, but then it was just that's not really me.
Sure.
So not that there was anything wrong with it. It's just, you kind of try different things. And then I kind of started figuring out this whole thing. I just wanted people to feel good in their homes. And I wanted them to find joy in simple things and not feel so overwhelmed, and the pressure.
Right.
I just think there's a lot of pressure. I would get, messages like, thank you for, I started talking about more mindset and things like that. And people would thank me for it. And thank you for, taking the pressure off. And wow, people do feel like this idea of having this perfect home. And I understand that, but there really is this idea of perfect, like this aesthetic perfection. That really isn't what home is about when you think about it. It's just not. And you can walk into a home that looks perfect and not really feel that great in it. That's not what it's about. So then I started helping people more one-on-one. And then I thought, how can I do this more on a larger scale, helping more people? So I started creating communities. And so I kind of create content. I do create content for it, videos, and then do Facebook Live teachings and stuff like that. So that's kind of a community that I created that I can reach more people. So that's kind of how it developed. You kind of go through, different things, trying different things.
Right. And it feels like you're just doing the next right thing.
Yes. And you don't know till you try,
No.
Right. So
and that's too that I really want to applaud you on, is that a lot of people try to figure out what the thing they're supposed to do is before they get started.
Yes.
And we just don't know.
We don't.
For me, at least, I have to do it. And then I think, okay, that sounded more fun than it actually was. So I won't be doing that again.
That's so true. That's so true. It sounded fun, and I'm glad I tried it, but I don't think it's for me. Right. I think that's kind of how it goes. Yes. I just had something like that happen, this event I did, and I was excited about it. I did it, and I was like, you know what? I don't think that was exactly me. So, right? Yeah.
Right. Some people feel that way about running a marathon. For some people, it's a bucket list. They want to check it off, and some people do it, and they're like, okay, that I only needed to do that once. And then some people become completely obsessed and they run marathon after marathon.
It's so true. Yep. That's kind of how it goes. Probably, especially in the field that we're in, right? You just kind of, you probably try a lot and like you said, it sounds like a good idea. You put the work in, you did everything. And it's like, okay, I think I'm going to pivot a little bit.
Right. And I think that, yes. And that's so good too, that you mentioned that and the mindset piece, because it's no joke. Like trying to figure this out is no joke.
No, it's not.
At the same time, I'm trying to figure out who I am, and I know what I want to say, but my message is still being refined because I'm still being refined. And what I'm learning the most in this particular season is, I have it right here on my desk. My word for this year is aligned. And that sounded like a great word at the beginning
of
last year. And I thought, okay, that's good. And yes, I'm only available for what delights me. And I want to do more of that. And what this year ended up being was really a crash course in checking in with myself. And, I have great ideas. Just ask me. I get really excited about something and I think it's awesome. And then when I do it and it ends up not being as fabulous as I thought, I get the opportunity to check in and just really listen to my body and pay attention to how I feel. And it doesn't matter to me if, 5 people signed up or 50 people signed up or no people signed up. There's still some things that this is a really good idea and I felt good about it. And I just need to kind of massage the messaging, or this sounded like a really good idea. And that was a once, I've checked it off the box and, check the box off and I'm not doing it again.
No, it's so true. And I appreciate your honesty. I just like when people, like you said, with the friendships that we form here, not everything, is perfect. And we are, like you said, I'm going through the same season right now, especially I have my 2 older children. They are older. Our daughter is a freshman in college. And then our second son is in high school. And then we have the 9-year-old. And I feel the shift in my life and where I am. And so I think it also comes back to the home. It's not about being perfect, be yourself, your home, any of it, right? It is about being authentic and real and really trying your true self, finding that. And it takes time. I wish it didn't, but it does.
Well, that membership is very expensive. One that collapses the timeline. But
that would be really nice if I could just be told right away. But I know it's a process and there's a reason. Oh, I know. But and the same with your home. It's a process. It takes time, but I think in the end or through the process, it's so worth it.
Yes. And it shifts, like you said, like you have, as your children get older, as you have different life changes, as the seasons change physically and, metaphorically, when you are in alignment with yourself, when you are paying attention to you and not trying to strive for some elusive picture of perfection, you are more inclined to shift when you need to shift, to pivot to something different, to, you might get your house just the way you want it, and then you have a baby. Well, guess what?
Yeah, everything.
The white couch you don't sit on anymore.
No, it's true. You're right. It's so true.
And so being in that season and being in that moment and being in tune with yourself and giving yourself permission to like something new or different, that process, there's so much grace. There's so much grace available for us if we would just take some for ourselves.
That's the word. I was just going to use the word grace. I think that word it's been going in my head a lot recently. And I that's so interesting. You just said it too, because it's not like something you hear every day, but I've been reflecting on that a lot. And I do think that is something you need to give yourself. And it kind of comes back, just circling back with the home, with just finding joy in simple things. too. And just taking a moment, like right now I have a candle burning, and I just, that in itself, the scent, it really makes you feel good.
Yes.
I mean, it really can. So simple. And, I'll have people reach out, I've just moved my home. This doesn't feel like my home, things like that, and it's like, start simple, just start simple, what you can do right now, something like that, or the familiar also, maybe it is a favorite cup of tea, or that morning ritual of opening up curtains, or, starting your coffee, whatever it is. There are simple things we can do that bring more joy, I think, than we realize sometimes, if we would just think about it.
Right. And I think that's, I mean, just exactly what you said. It's thinking about it. It's taking a minute. It's setting an intention.
Yes.
Again, back to self-permission. Like, you are allowed to like something, and you are allowed to take 30 seconds and light a candle and make that a part of your routine. And it doesn't matter if you have little kids that are running around, or you have your kids just left for college and you're an empty nester and you're trying to figure out who you even are. I mean, there are so many different seasons of life, and we actually have a manual, we have a handbook, it's inside of us. And so giving yourself time to figure out what is right for you in this season. And like you've said, you just need to discard the idea of perfection, because it's elusive, and every person has a different definition of what it is.
It's so true. It's so true. I think a lot of it does also have to do, when it comes down to it, like just personality traits too.
Right.
And I think, for me, even choosing things in your home, people will think sometimes, I think, well, that, and I see, like on Instagram, you take a picture, and I have pictures of my home up, and, people will think it looks like this perfect idea, right? And I understand that. The thing is, I think, like for me personally, with my personality traits, and that's kind of what I dive into a lot if I do one-on-one coaching, is I have a personality that I do well with predictability as much as I can. I have 3 kids, I have a husband, a dog, all that. I mean, I only can predict things so much. Believe me, my son got sick the first time we were going to do this.
Right.
But for me, that does mean I like to have create order where I can. So for me, that might mean, that might count. I know where things are. I know, if I go into, the kids each have like a locker. If I go into my youngest son's locker, I know his book bag is in there. I'm not searching for it. So for me, those are things that I'll do, and the locker has a door on it, so I don't see the chaos. Brilliant. But that's me. That's some people, the casualness of it, that's their personality. And that for them to see it all, and that's perfectly fine. That's their personality, and they're good with that. And it's like, okay, but for me, I try to create that predictability where I can. And so, and I have like a nightly routine where, and my house is not clean all the time, but for me, picking it up at night, putting things away, that kind of lends itself to my personality, and it kind of, and that's what I mean by, I think sometimes this idea of perfection doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it has to be everything in its place all the time or whatever. It kind of depends on the person,
Right. I love that predictability piece, that word, replacing perfection.
Yes.
So you have, like, your house looks the way that it does because that actually puts you at ease.
100%. And that I had done, a podcast with somebody, and she was, in that sense, when I explained it that way, because she is not that way. And she's like, wait, maybe that is why I don't, sometimes you think, well, why am I not that? Well, but that's just not her personality.
Right.
And there's no right or wrong. It's just, that's what works for her, and this is what works for me. And so that's why you can't necessarily swipe up for everything, just because you see somebody, oh, that's what they have in their home. I guess I should put it in my home.
Right.
And you can like it. I always say you can like a lot of things, but it doesn't mean you have to put it in your home. There,
Exactly.
not right. So everybody's just different. So, and there's no right or wrong. I think,
and buying that dish soap is not going to get you the kitchen that's in the picture.
Yes. 100%.
So, I mean, that's what the dish soap people want you to think.
100%.
That the dish soap comes with the granite countertops and the beautiful appliances.
And it doesn't. And I do think sometimes we don't realize how these small things that we do, they add up. Yes. So you do a few things, maybe you don't have your dream countertops yet, and that's a big thing that you need to save up for. And that's down the line. But what can you do in your kitchen? And sometimes it doesn't have to cost anything. Sometimes it's cleaning a drawer and you feel good when you clean the drawer.
Yes.
And you'll find joy in that more than you think you will.
Right.
Or buying, the flowers at the grocery store. I was at the grocery store yesterday and I love those rosemary tree plants.
Yes.
They're like this big. And I bought one and I put it in my kitchen. It feels so good. Like those things matter.
Yes.
They really do. So think about those sorts of things of what you can do today to feel good in your home.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So in your kitchen, you have a rosemary tree that makes you happy. And then you have in the space you're in now, you have a candle. Do you have, what are some ideas if someone wanted to, they can't have a bathroom remodel, like your new friend, Wendy, but
yeah,
she wants to feel good in that space. So do you have some tips that you give people for just how to uplift their feeling about a space?
I think one of the simplest things to do, Wendy, is to think about those things that you use all of the time and you just kind of take it up a little bit of a notch. Think about, this is going to sound maybe a little bit silly, but if you have Q-tips, not keeping them in the box, but putting them in something that is just a little pretty, and setting it on maybe a tray that you find attractive. Those are different things that I do. Even taking, we were talking about the soap and putting it in a pretty container. I think just the everyday pictures, putting maybe pictures out, those sorts of things. I'm at my kitchen sink a lot. So I really do the things that are around my kitchen sink, which is what everybody uses. I just try to elevate it a little bit just to make it pretty. I have on my window ledge by my kitchen sink. I was so excited. One of my dream things to do was to go to the Louisa May Alcott house.
Oh, fun. That's right down the street from me.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. I went last September.
Fun.
And I was with my husband and I was like, I couldn't believe that the tickets were only $12.
I know, right? It's crazy.
This has to cost more because it was like a dream for me. So we went there. I can't describe the feeling that I had walking through that home. It was magical.
And the town of Concord. It's ridiculous.
It is. I want to go back with my sisters and my daughter.
Yes. Oh, and you can do a farm stay at the house because I have my bed and breakfast permit is.
I just got goosebumps.
Yay, me too. So fun. I actually have that as a package where we go to Concord for the day and
my word.
And it's girls' weekend. So yes, please come with your sisters.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Hooray.
So they have a little shop in there.
Yes.
So of course I bought things and there was a print of the house and I just set the print right by my kitchen sink. And it makes me happy, Wendy. It's been sitting there a year and it still does. And I actually brought it over with me over here, my Little Women tea.
I love it.
I bought. And I keep that over there too, because I like it. I just like the can because it has the tin because it has the house on it.
Beautiful.
But those are just simple things. This is not something everybody's going to want by their kitchen sink. And that's what I mean. You got to keep your eyes on your own paper too. So what makes you happy? What brings you joy? My next door neighbor, if they put a print up the Little Women or the Louisa May Alcott house, I think they'd probably be, what? Everybody's is different.
Yes.
So what can you put, especially I do think those places where you are a lot in your home. So I'm by my pantry. I feel like I walk by my pantry a lot. I'm by my kitchen sink a lot. So on my pantry door, I'll put a wreath, something like that. What brings you joy? Things like that. So just kind of think about those areas you do also frequent a lot and how you can kind of elevate it.
I love that so much.
Oh,
thank you. I cannot wait to go zhuzh up my kitchen sink area. I'm happy with it, but I'm about to get even happier with it.
And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I always say, whether you have $50 to spend or $50,000 to spend, neither amount of money is going to guarantee that you're going to be happy with something. I mean, you can spend, I love thrifting. I can spend $2 and just love something, it doesn't matter what you're, and we don't have the $50,000 budget. So what can you do, and then it can be free too. Organizing a drawer, cleaning off your counters, wiping them down doesn't cost anything, but you feel good about it, after.
Oh, I love that. So practical and so fabulous. I love it so much. I am right now, I'm sure this is going to air in January sometime, but right now I'm decorating the house for Christmas, and I love my things.
I know, right?
I'm so happy to see them again. And I package each ornament, I wrap it in tissue paper every year, and then I take it out and I unwrap it. And so Amelia has her own tree, and she has her ornaments in her bin. C5. That's
I watched that. What a great.
Oh, right.
I watched that you did that. I had that whole problem this year. I didn't know where anything was.
Yes. And I did it when we moved. So I packed 3 times as an adult for a cross-country move, wanting to live in Massachusetts, and twice unpacked still in California. But I used that same process. So I had K1 through 28 were all my kitchen boxes.
Gosh.
And I had index cards, with what was in K1, what's in K2, so that when the movers, if the box had a K on it, bring it to the kitchen. If it has a D.
What a great idea.
And it was so fun because the last time when I actually did move here, all of my stuff was in storage for 2 years, which is a whole nother podcast.
Oh my God.
So I had access to it, but I knew exactly what box I needed because I thought I'd be unpacking before I needed my cowboy boots, but I was still in California and I needed my boots. So I knew to go to, Wendy's closet, box 3, and my cowboy boots would be in there. So it's so brilliant. And then I just keep my index cards.
I was wondering,
in my desk
in your drawer.
So I know exactly where they are. And, the Christmas ones are red and the moving ones were white. And so I could I'm a freak show, I know, but I can access it because, like you, being organized or predictability over perfection, I love that. That's what works for me. I am a firstborn female of German descent. So I put things where they go. Like, that's the only way I know. And if Amelia asks me, Mom, where are my gloves? Well, they're in the bin, honey. On the top is the winter gloves and the bottom is the summer gloves, the gardening gloves. Yeah. And she's like, they're not there. I don't have a clue. Because I only know where they go. I don't know where they are. So if they're not where they go, I am of no help to anybody.
That is so well put. And I do think what we need to remember, that what you do in that respect is a form of home decorating. It really is. Right. And I think sometimes we think it is getting the new countertops, but organizing your home in that way, or your systems, what you have, it really is a form of it. But it helps your home, run, that's how, it runs. And that's a part of home, big part of it.
It really is. And you can, I feel like it's a pretty well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
But when I go to share my process with somebody, if they're house sitting or, because when I go to France, someone stays at the house, and that's when I feel like a freak show, because I'm trying to say, okay, so the dishwasher, like the dishwasher is a 3-page. Please do not put these things in, and please put these things in, and please face them this direction, and please, because it's just what works. Like, it's not like another way is broken, but don't put my knives in the dishwasher. So I feel like the system is good, and I only require myself to follow the system, not anybody else, because
I understand
that would be, they would definitely lock me up, because I do have a reason for every single thing that I do, and a process, and it makes perfect sense to me. And my grandmother used to say, never load another woman's dishwasher. And I
so good.
Really, I believe
I do like, and it's hard because I encourage the kids to do it, but I always have to fix it.
I say, you can do it any way you want, because I'm in France. But when I come back, this is how it must happen.
So I'm the firstborn of 4 Dutch descent. I wonder if that has, maybe it does.
Do what we're told.
I know.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. And so now I just do what I tell myself. So, but to, this practice of checking in and setting intention and asking myself, what do I like? And do I need to load the dishwasher that way? The answer is yes. Because I have asked myself that question many times when it's asked of me. And it really is, like, all the baking things go in the baking drawer, and all the cooking things go in.
And that's how you work. That's how you work.
Right. And you've seen my lives, like, this place requires a lot of my attention. The last thing I need to spend my time on is finding the spatula that is not in the slot that the spatula belongs.
It's so true. No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. And time is valuable, and you don't want to sit there. It's
like you said, there are enough variables added into our day that I don't need to also add any myself.
No, that's what has worked for me too. So yes, I do not, some people thrive on chaos. I'm just not one of those people.
Nor am I.
But there are people who do.
And I think that's so great.
Yeah. And that works.
They may not load my dishwasher.
That is so funny.
Everyone will be better. Yes. Yeah. I think, this house has really been a beautiful crash course in moving away from perfectionism, because it's alive. Neglect is the enemy.
Yeah.
There are, chickens, and sadly only half the number of chickens than I used to have, because a fox made its way into my chicken run. So that's terrible. And that takes time.
Yes.
Figuring that situation out. And so there are so many things happening, and like you, letting people into your home through these lives, through your beautiful membership, is really an opportunity for people to see that it's not perfect.
No.
When I meet people and they're like, oh, I know your house, it's so beautiful. And I say, yes, at 30 miles an hour, it looks amazing. That's limit outside the front of my house. But when you live here, it is also amazing, but it is not perfect. And I am not perfect. And I still love it here. And I still love me. Like, I love being in my body. I love this life that I'm creating here. I love sharing it with people. I love that it's Friday and it's time for me to show a cocktail, but I've just gotten off the lawnmower and I have grass in my hair. And
oh my gosh.
but we've got to hydrate, people. And if we wait until, my goodness, if we wait till my hair looks perfect, we will be waiting a long time.
No, that's true. And that is when you see that on, I think, social media, I do think that that's very refreshing. And, and going back to the home and being the perfection, I think sometimes if you, as far as mindset goes, seeing your home, I see my home as a living being. I really do. And one that I need to take care of.
Yes.
And, with whatever that means to you. And I do believe when you take care of your home, it does take care of you in return. It really is a form of self-care. You think about it, like, so when you want to feel good in your home. And I think when you do take care of it with whatever that means for you, it does take care of you. And I see it as a part of the family. I really do. It takes care of my kids. It takes care of my husband. When they were younger, my older ones, my youngest daughter, I tell this story, when she was young, it didn't matter, Wendy, if we went to the zoo and came back, which was like, a half-hour drive, or if we went to the grocery store quickly and came back. Whenever we would pull up on our driveway, she would yell from the back of the car, "Yay, home."
Oh,
she always did, every time. And we don't live in an enormous house. We did add on to it when we decided. We've been here 22 years.
Oh, wow.
It's the only home my husband and I have lived in, married. We've been married 22 years. And so it's all we know. So we did, like I said, add on to it when we ended up, having children and all of that, and just deciding to stay. But it's not an enormous home. It was built in 1940. We don't, the homes around us are not big or anything like that, but that's what matters. She doesn't care. She didn't care, of course, at that time, what counters we had.
Right.
She felt good in our home. And I know she still feels the same way. She's a lot older, but I know she feels the same way. She doesn't scream "Yay, home" anymore. But that's really, that's, I guess, one of the best examples I can give of what home is, and so maybe it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the aesthetic part and really creating and making a home, which is what's, I think, just so important. And I don't know, Wendy, about you, but I was thinking about it. And I don't know if this has just been a shift in our society, because I don't think it was always like this.
I don't think so either.
And so I kind of want to get back to how it was, a little bit, with not everything, because, obviously, but there are things that I think that it used to be, just home kind of was a little bit different than it is today. So that's kind of what I try to practice. Well, I don't try to practice it. I guess I just do.
You are practicing it. And
yeah,
inviting others to practice it alongside you. And that's really beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Wendy.
Of course. So tell everyone about your membership and how they can follow all of your goodness and spend more time with you.
So Instagram is the biggest platform, and the place I am the most. So House 214 Design. And then I do have the Homebody Fellowship membership, and that's the homebodyfellowship.com. That's where you can learn more about it. And it really is just about sharing simple things, finding joy in your home and in little ways. And I teach different things that I do. And then also, just the mindset part of it and community. So that's what it's all about. So that's primarily, and I do one-on-one sort of individual things too. You can reach Melinda at house214design.com if you had any interest in that's the coaching aspect like that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I have loved this time together, and I'm so excited now to have you come with your sisters and we can
I want to do that.
Chat all night.
I know. Oh, I would love that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.